the effects of culture on marriage and parenting. It's a bit of a wide conversation. We're going to try and demolish the mountain as best as we can.
When I was reading, I found out that marriage is a culture.
Yes.
And because culture is the practices and norms of a certain society. So how they now handle marriage depends on their foundation of a certain culture. And the positive is that traditionally, marriage has been known to be between a man
and a woman.
Yeah. The dowry, sometimes people look at it as negatively, and I mean, it depends on how one wants to look at it. But also that it promotes responsibility.
When we talk about things like gender roles, you know, there are certain principles, some of them not nice, that affect how women and men operate in the home. So let's talk, for example, about gender roles. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are glad that you're back again with us. It means that we are doing something right. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments, your engagement. We appreciate your feedback and we love hearing from you. On the show today, we are going to be having a rather sensitive conversation. But before I get into that, we are coming to you from the beautiful, amazing Suma Coffee House and Wellness Center located in Kamocha, right at Total Energy. So if you know where Total is, opposite Acacia Mall, there's a nice little space above the shop where you can come and do your work whilst you have coffee, some healthy juices, there's some healthy smoothies, snacks, and all of your meals. It's very convenient right in the center of town. And they also have some awesome supplements that are very, very helpful in your journey to living healthy. This one is called Youth Ever. Do you want to say something about this?
Well, Youth Ever is a product that re-energizes our bodies, keeps our vitality, rebuilds our body cells so you don't deplete and age and leave your body behind.
Okay.
Yes, so it is a very good product. It is it re-engineers the body and you're able to keep young.
Yeah. So I see there, I think there are sachets. Do you drop them in water?
Yeah, you drop them in water.
Okay, I take. All right, so there you have it. And then since we are concluding Women's Month, these are femibiotics for women's probiotic and prebiotic health. So it maintains vaginal health, inhibits the growth of pathogenic bacteria, as well as supports a healthy vaginal microbiome. Science people, I'm sure you understand what I mean, but it sounds very healthy. So come on, get yourself these. And then this is called Arthro Extra.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good for arthritis.
For arthritis. So if you deal with
joints.
arthritis, your joints, your bones, that's also.
Your
so there's
parents,
a wide
yourself,
range. Yes, for yourself and your parents as well. There's a wide range of supplements. Just think about your head to your toe. And if there's something that you're dealing with, you need some healthy supplements. These are available at Suma Coffee House and Wellness Center. So that's it. Order, come by, buy yourself the products and get yourself something healthy as you work. So back to our conversation, we are going to be talking about the effects of culture on marriage and parenting. So it's a bit of a wide conversation. We're going to try and demolish the mountain as best as we can. And we thought we can't do this by ourselves, as you know how we usually appear, myself and Dr. Eva. So we decided to get some reinforcement in the form of Reverend Dr. Tumuhimbise Jasper. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Church Commissioners Holding Company Limited. And he's joining us today to have this very pertinent conversation on the effects of culture on marriage and parenting. Welcome, Reverend.
Thank you so much.
Reverend is
Good to be here.
Yes, you're very passionate about marriage.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a story as to why you're passionate about marriage.
Yeah.
But we're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank
I'm
you.
really glad to be here.
Yes. Okay, so Reverend, oh, and Dr. Evans. Sorry.
You forget me.
I'd forgotten you.
Now that Reverend Jasper is
Reverend
here.
is here, sorry.
I'm so invisible.
No. Dr. Avis is here. For those of you that are new, she is a therapist. She is the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care. And in short, that's a therapy practice. So if you need counseling of any kind, even for your children, by the way, you can go over to ICFC and get the support that you need. Marriage, relationships, and the workplace. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you so much.
So culture has traditionally shaped marriage and families, the family dynamic. We learn a lot of the things that we do in marriages through our culture. So what are some of, let's start on the positive side. What are some of those key values that still influence modern families today? Yeah. We usually start with our guests.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was reading, I found out that marriage is a culture.
Yes.
And because culture is the practices and norms of a certain society. So how they now handle marriage depends on their foundation of a certain culture. And the positive is that, one, traditionally, marriage has been known to be between a man
And a woman. Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And sometimes, of course, I don't want to bring in Trump, but some of those are necessary to redefine a culture so that at the minimum, we have that idea. And then, of course, marriage will have other people like children who will come in, and that's parenting. But we have also parents, whether they are guardians or not. Then we have other relatives, friends, and in-laws who form now that type of family culture. So the positive is that because marriage is a culture, we need to enter into a certain culture, which has been and will continue. Of course, we thank God that that culture began with God. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. It is not good for man to live alone. And so the foundation is that God intended marriages to have that foundation. Then secondly, I can imagine if we are not marrying, what type of life would we be living?
Yes.
I mean, if I was a bachelor, and of course with all due respect to those who are in a life of celibacy, that's still okay, and it is biblical. But for me, I don't imagine me not having a wife and now children later, because as a culture.
Yes.
And so the positive is that the two unite to be one and form now a generation. The Bible in Malachi 2:14, then 1 Corinthians 7:14, the purpose of that culture is to form a godly generation. That you still have children emanating from that culture that will continuously propagate God's kingdom. And so for me, that's a huge positive thing, that we haven't totally read marriage, but instead we are increasingly coming toward that culture. Then finally, cultures between two families. In other words, I have a son marrying this year, and I can assure you already, I'm too excited to join the other family as they bring in their daughter, as I take my son. Like actually yesterday we are meeting in order for us to know the expectation of the other culture. Because of course we shall talk about later bride price, all that. Then we have the Christian culture, which now comes to sometimes challenge the traditional culture, but also improve certain practices. So like yesterday we are now sending the caterum or the go-between to go and ensure that he spies about what the other family expects and what we expect, so that we do not have a cultural clash. Because potentially that's a dangerous thing, that when you crash at the foundation of any marriage, then that crash may be able to continue.
Okay, that's an amazing, I guess the whole idea of family and a man and a woman coming together is rooted in culture, you know, and I like that you also emphasize that there's the Christian culture, there's the traditional culture, then there's the modern culture, which is shaped by, you know, the advent of things like social media. We also have culture that is shaped by the church, culture that is shaped by just global views, you know. People are well traveled, people go and study abroad, they pick ideas from there, come back home, and now the battle becomes, how do I maintain what I have picked with how I grew up, you know, the traditional culture and all of that. Dr. Evers.
Yeah, so thank you, Reverend. I liked that you started that marriage is a culture. Yeah, so looking at how culture is influencing, especially the traditional culture, how it is influencing marriage or the marriage institution and family generally. For me, I also looked at two things. One, the processes. You hear about the processes, send these, you know, that I was thinking about all the processes that have to take place, the families meeting and I mean, the processes have reduced, Reverend, because people would go to eat for the cows and all that. But you know, sometimes we don't understand how this is important. For me, I looked at it from the standpoint of promoting accountability. You see, that is important. And in my work as a therapist, we always ask couples, especially who come in and say, who is your support system? So that kind of support system, that accountability, that someone going through the process, the power of the process, that is absolutely important. So that culture, to know that I've seen, I mean, recently I became a mother-in-law, and so I know what it means, like at a stage where you also are giving away your daughter, or that stage. It is an emotional stage, but it's a spiritual stage where you're blessing your children, where children feel that two families, they are blessing us. That is powerful, powerful. And so that element of culture, I honestly love it. It's important. But then also, it's also important for responsibility, steering responsibility. People to know that they are witnesses. They are witnesses. You see, that is important. I've had people, for instance, say, did you pick me from the bar? Did you you know, that is absolutely important. So people to know that I have to be responsible for somebody's child because I picked them here. Everyone witnessed and all that. Powerful. That's important. But then I also, again, I have fresh memories. Reverend, you need to consult me now that you're getting into this. But just a couple of months back, we went through the process. And I've always appreciated it, but the issue of social capital. Oh my God, social capital. Because especially here, our ceremonies are quite expensive.
They are.
They're quite pricey. And so culture coming in, you know, it's now has become our culture that if I give you an invitation card, you know that you're supposed to support me. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
It is beautiful. Now, people can look at it from different angles and say, oh, this is a burden, what do they think? But you know, I looked at how people were coming in. And maybe I should even use this to say thank you to the entire team that supported us. It was so heartwarming. It was so humbling to see how people are coming in, giving you their money and their time and coming in to say, what can I do to support you? That is powerful, powerful. It brings us together. And I remember I was talking to our the in-laws, our in-laws, and I was saying, look, we may, sometimes people think we are poor, but we are so rich in social capital. That is so powerful to know that people are there to support you. And especially for younger couples who are starting, it's hard. It's hard. Some of them don't know. That's why you remember when we were discussing cohabitation. People are going cohabitation because they think, let them start until they are ready. But you know, to know that you have that social capital to support you, people are coming in with their finances. For me, I consider that's a really great element of culture that we need to applaud. And maybe I should smuggle in the I know we're going to talk about it differently, but also the bride price,
Yes,
the dowry.
yes.
The dowry, sometimes people look at it as negatively, and I mean, it depends on how one wants to look at it. But also that it promotes responsibility.
That's true.
You know, in psychology, things you get without really laboring.
Doesn't cost you.
Again, please, you may look at it differently, but I look at it as number one, gifting, promoting that culture of gifting.
Yes.
And in our culture, if you give a cow, then you keep looking at it and know this came from here. It carries special meaning. And so people want to shoot it down, say you're not buying children and wherever. But again, it is, if we look at it from the standpoint of gifting, it's actually a great thing for culture that creates bonding between the two families. But it shouldn't be ridiculously pricey to cause so much stress. If it is really, if we modify it, then we know that it is gifting. I know, for instance, in some cultures here, they give those gifts and wrap them and they look so glorious. That is gifting. It carries that meaning and it creates the bond between the two families.
I feel like it's a good starting point for families. If you have two families that are considered strangers, that they are coming together.
Yes.
They are gifts to express appreciation or to express joy, you know, in the fact that, oh, you're giving us your daughter. And no, actually, it's not that you're giving us your daughter. Two families are coming together. Yes, I think that's what should be celebrated. But like you said, I think many families sometimes abuse that gesture and end up asking for exorbitant things.
Yes,
you know?
and of course, even in the nomenclature, bride price.
I know that's
It's as if somebody is on sale.
Yes.
But really, as she said, it is the principle of gifting. But then more importantly, the fact that you are now intermingling the two families to become one. Because, of course, in India, it is the lady who pays. And then our cultures, it is really those exchanges that cement that relationship. And it creates part of the social capital now, that these children are entering knowing that this is not a simple thing. And so we can't simply separate, simply divorce. So in a way, those gifts, one, they cement relationships, but two, they remind this couple that you have entered two families. Now, in many cultures, it's called giveaway, but in Binyankole Ruchiga, it is okuhinjira. A very nice concept, because you are not simply sending. You are actually aiding. Kuhinjira means we are going to dig for these children to have a foundation that they will have what to eat, what to drink from both the families. And so that's actually now blending two new cultures. And as she said, these now children will now begin getting excited. I mean, my son was also excited over the number of people willing to help. I mean, like the go-between is we got four applications. Saying, I will be there. And he was like, I think social capital is something so nice. And to the extent that now they will take their marriage as an opportunity to build more social capitals. But of course, there is an issue of personality that I also have a character as a person. That I enter this marriage as an individual with the culture. Now, Jasper, chronic marries a melancholy, those are personalities. And so there will be a cultural crash at that personal level. And then when I go to the tribe, I'm from Muchiga. I marry Munyankore. When she calls me Jasper, I say Nenchi. Now, for Banyankore, that's not only rude, but
rude, it's
it is what have I done? Now, we are already 27 years in marriage, but I still do it. Of course, I have now. I even remind myself that Nenchi is bad, but I still. Why? Because in our culture, What is it?
What do you want?
That's our culture. We grew up
saying that.
But for her, that's rude. So we remind now ourselves. And that's why really personalities need to understand one another.
Yes.
That I'm a quick one. She's also the other softer one. And so those two cultures, and if you know God is interesting, He will give you a different personality.
From you.
That's true.
That's why they call them suitable helpers, so that, like me, I was quickly angered, but now today, I can assure you, I can be as patient as possible. Why? Because God gave me a gift that will now help me become what I'm to become. So about tribal issues, personality issues, we have professions.
Yes.
She's a teacher, I'm a statistician, and the teachers, you know how they handle things. For me, it is I was actually studying with the husband, same war. So for us, it is quick. And so even in schools we go to, those are cultures that are formed. I went to Kigezi College in Butobere, where you strive and fight and what. She goes to a school where there are ladies. So when you now don't manage those cultures, so the cultures are good, but we must what?
Must manage them.
We use them to as advantage of building a marriage. Otherwise, actually, those are potential conflict areas, and we can easily end up totally separating.
That's true.
Of course, other issues like Christianity, now when it came in, it's tried to calm all cultures down, especially the bad aspects, and we promote the Christian culture. What would Jesus have done in this what?
This situation. That's amazing that you bring that up. And I think even as we discuss culture, because there are many things that affect or impact what we consider as culture. Like you aptly pointed out, our personalities, our professions, our vocations, the homes that we grew up in, then there's at larger level tribe, and the part of the country where you come from. But all of those, I think, combined, aside from the Christian and the international or global, have formed for us, at least in the Ugandan context or in the African context, what we now refer to as culture. So when we talk about things like gender roles, there are certain principles, some of them not nice, that affect how women and men operate in the home. So let's talk, for example, about gender roles. How have cultural expectations around gender roles impacted marriages and parenting styles? Because I think that's really one of the big ones. So how has cultural expectations? What do they expect from a man? What do they expect from a woman? And I want you to talk about both the good and the bad.
Okay, let me go first. The good. The good is that the best is that all those gender roles can be changed because we obtain them through what we call socialization. So I get married. I used to wash for myself in the bathroom from head to toe, whether socks, whether shirts, what. I mean, in the bathroom I would ensure that I do everything. Then you get married, somebody thinks that you shouldn't be doing that. I should participate in helping you. And I find that a bit what? Strange. Instead I explain so that I don't have time on Saturdays to go and wash, so I do this. And so I socialized into that culture of ensuring that we wash, and I began washing for her now. That's not a man's role.
No.
Traditionally. According to the patriarchal society we are in, to wash for your wife. And but now men listen to me. Because I used to do it, and I continued doing it, when she fell sick, it was not a cultural shock. And in fact, as a matter of fact, we have 8 men, we meet every Friday morning at church and talk about marriage and other issues. So one of the cultural shocks for one woman is that we told the husband, go and wash for her. And she had come out of hospital, cesarean, and she used to sit on. And this is tough, by the way. We are dealing with tough things. She would sit and wash for herself. So we told the husband, go and
Wash for her.
wash.
Yeah.
And so he goes to the bathroom. The wife hears some things
In the
moving
bathroom.
on, blood and what.
Yeah.
And then she comes to check and finds
Her husband.
the husband, for 15 years, who had never done anything, now
Wow. Washing her
and
underwear.
of all things, blood
underwear.
and what. She almost actually passed on. Why? Because it was a cultural shock.
Yeah.
And so she had to come to us and ask what happened. And we told her that we want to make a new culture where we respect our what?
Yeah.
Irrespective of our traditions, where we are aids to a certain reality. So in terms of, therefore, culture, patriarchal, we are in a patriarchal society.
Yeah.
Where women are expected to do 1, 2, 3. Men are expected to do 1, 2, 3. And if you don't, you are abnormal.
That's
You are kuroga.
Eh.
She actually bewitched you. So I told one man, he found, we have twins as firstborn, so he found me ironing clothes for children. And he was like, hey, you!
What are you doing?
When he was a classmate at Makera. So he said, you, omukazi ya kuroga. I said, why? How can you be ironing? I said, just get out. You get it? Because you see, as a man, I need to push away all these cultural traits that help me abuse my wife, if I'm to call her my wife.
Yes.
And so I had to do away with that cultural aspect that abuses, but I promoted those good aspects. And you know, every family should find out this culture. Is it aiding us?
As a
because this
family.
lady has 2 children that she's breastfeeding, headache almost every minute, and I can't even iron. Then when I reach home, I want to sit and
They remove your shoes.
traditionally, she removes. No, she should remove, then remove the socks, kneel, bring food with 2 babies. So in other words, and of course I did that, and she asked, I think you asked why. I grew up in a polygamous family.
Yeah.
And part of what I desired is this perfect model family or no family at all.
Yeah.
So I even delayed marriage. Why? Because of all those socks in polygamy. I tried to do the opposite.
Of what
And
you
of course,
saw.
that's not good because it is a culture that can even help you abuse yourself.
That's true.
You are so sensitive to certain situations. I don't want to divorce. I don't want, so that you now begin becoming a slave of what we would call a good trait. Until later,
we call it hypervigilance.
Yes. Until later, when I began reading and saying, no, calm down. You are you. You need to run your marriage this way. And so, in terms of, again, those expectations, those traditions, I think each family needs to sit. Of course, women never used to work the traditional model.
Yeah.
Work, because the definition of work was going to hunt or going to office, as if work at home was not work. But now they are the breadwinners for some families, and currently I'm dealing with the 2 couples. The one couple, the wife took the husband to police. That is now useless. He lost a job during COVID. That this is a useless man. He just sits, wastes TV money. What? Police helped me to push him out. And of course, she rang me that I need to meet her with the husband. The first question I asked was, what is the purpose of our meeting? So that you tell him to totally leave me alone. Then I said, I don't have to tell him. You can tell him that yourself. Without my involvement. That's where we are. Because and of course, I know my sister knows it. The purpose of counseling is not separation. It is bringing people together. But those are the cultural shocks that people are not handling now. Why? Because there is modernity, post-modernity, these phones,
Yes.
Whether to check or not to check, whether to receive the phone or not.
Yeah.
So we must now redefine
That's true.
all those roles in the modern context.
Yeah.
Because these are what they are called, we call them stress factors. That when I'm in a bathroom, they call and I come rushing
With the
even
soap.
with the soap, just in case she picks my phone and the other lady is calling.
Lord.
But for some of us, these are aids to a better marriage.
I liked that you mentioned one major thing, that culture evolves.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest challenges, Rachel, we've had, especially with gender roles, is that people want to evolve, live here in the new world,
But maintain the culture.
maintain the culture.
Yes.
Now, I've always said that we have to check. Every time we run to culture, most of the time we are looking for justification of our bad manners. But before I get into that, culture evolves, and therefore roles evolve.
Yeah.
We no longer have that the perfect neat compartments where this one does this and another one does this. The wires have touched each other, and so we need to evolve, right, and measure up to the new realities.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the specifics of gender roles, definitely the hunting and the caring, and of course the home not considered job or work. Definitely now things have changed. I remember we talked about it one time with industrialization and the women invading the workplace, and it can only get worse.
Yep.
Right? We can't go backwards.
No.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I've seen is that people wish away things. They wish away realities. For instance, what he's talking about, the experience he's sharing, someone saying, my husband is useless because he's not working. Women and men are exposed to the same work opportunities.
That's
As
true.
a matter of fact, some workplaces even emphasize women are particularly encouraged
to apply.
Yes.
I've been fortunate to participate in some recruitment processes, and we'll get to some conversation and they say, no, let's favor women here, right? And so women haven't conceptualized this. They don't understand that actually we are both exposed to the same opportunities. So we have a challenge now, stuck in a world that no longer exists, where women are saying it is a man to provide.
Yes.
Because he was the hunter.
Yeah.
So yes, he has. He will provide. But again, I've said, Rachel, here that provision is not just material.
money. Yes.
It is actually provision of leadership.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see, it's provision of strategic thinking, a man as a leader in the family. And of course, the provision, there is something, of course, men, they take so much satisfaction from providing, because again, this is divine, but also traditional.
Yeah.
And it is important. When a man doesn't have money, doesn't have a job, it's not one of the easy things they have to manage. But when women don't understand this, I've seen families where they can't even pay a car because the money, it
has
is
not
his
given the
role.
money, yeah.
So we need to break those walls for people to know that this is a partnership.
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about this here, unmarried money, single money in marriages, where now women are stuck with their money. And I've asked women, so this is your husband's role. So what is your money supposed to do? And they can't answer. And because of that, there's so much drama. Women they are running secret projects, they are running alone, and they have this social justification
That men are supposed
that
to
men, it is the man's role to provide,
Yeah.
which is which is absurd. It is very unfortunate because now that's a point of destruction of family.
Yeah.
And I've always spoken to women. So the last time I checked, you are saying everything I have, I give to you. Now, if it is your money, his money, so where is family money?
It is his money that's family money.
You see? So it is his money that is family money. So what is yours supposed to do? You see?
Double standards.
So you see how we are stuck? Because mindset is everything. Culture, by the way, is mindset. And so if you do not break down those barriers, then it can be a problem.
Yeah.
I've also related to that. You've had the I want to marry the rich man mentality. You see, in this world where we are all exposed to the same, I mean, really, you see, one of the things I've seen is that we run to culture to facilitate our selfishness. You see, I want to marry a rich man. How about you be rich? What's wrong
There's
with
nothing
you
wrong with you being rich.
You see, money can be earned by anything. Wealth can be obtained by anything because it's a brain issue, but also it is an ability. Scripture in Deuteronomy, God gives us the ability to get wealth, to make wealth. So God gives the ability to both men and women to make wealth. You see, so we need to know that if women could know that, yes, we can start a family and we can grow together. But this whole mentality of I need to marry a rich man sends out a message that men have to be rich
To be married.
to marry. And it has put so much pressure on men to be rich to marry. That's why, again, we are having so many people moving because they don't feel rich enough, or they feel inadequate to approach certain women, partners, potential partners, because they feel inadequate. They are not rich enough. So this is terrible. So this is where people are stuck once again in a world that no longer exists. You see, definitely, I mentioned something about dowry and bride price. You see, that's also part of culture, but it's also abused so much. It's abused, and it is incapacitating young couples from getting into marriage and starting. Okay, so it's a cultural element,
But it's being
abused, and it can really work against families. Of course, I'm speaking in favor of my brothers, but then definitely there are so many other things, especially in terms of gender roles, Rachel, that men are not measuring up to the current reality. You see, men. I'm glad you've talked about you. Now the culture shock is to a woman, but men are not doing well in this area. They still live in this world. They're still using a template that doesn't have space in this world. I have, I'm the one who earns. It's still stuck there. And they, even when it is the woman earning the bread, winning the bread, and they are both of them are working or whatever it is, men still want to be taken care of.
This is true.
And I'm not against you being taken care of, my brothers, but some of you have really taken it to
a bit too far.
A bit too far. Because they still expect it's the woman to do this. It is the woman to do this. And women are overwhelmed.
That's true.
Women are burnt out because they have to work and then they don't have any help at home. Even when a man can help out, they can't. I recently saw something, and I want to emphasize it. Some of the basic skills are not gender roles.
They are not.
These are basic skills. They are not gender roles. You see, washing. We are having marriages breaking because someone is not washing my boxers. How basic can marriage be at that level? You see, like washing for yourself or helping out. I mean, and I'm not against your wife washing your stuff, but come on, this can't be a huge expectation on this woman
as her role.
As her role.
Responsibility.
So basic responsibilities, basic skills cannot just be gender roles. And if we continue to operate in the neat compartments that are not there, then we are bound to crash, as Reverend was saying. Why can't you help out? You see, why? Women are stuck. They are really, really burnt out. They have to care for children. They have to do this. I had someone who, a man, Christian man, Reverend, who confessed that when their wife gets a baby, they have to go to another bedroom because don't want it. They have to sleep.
They have to sleep.
Do you understand?
You think
because
he's a visitor
for
in the
me,
home.
I need my peace. You see some of those dangerous perspectives. So I think really men have a lot of work to do in terms of the so-called gender roles. Because these gender roles, man, they've evolved.
Yeah.
You see, they've now become basic skills. We all need help with each other. You see, so because that's why, for instance, Rachel, parental nurturing, it has become a woman's role.
Yeah.
And we are now, for instance, in our work, we are seeing so much paternal deprivation.
Yeah.
Children don't have a dad because men are still taking comfort in this is a woman's responsibility. And so we don't have men show up and model authority in the lives of children, be in the lives of children, support them as a dad figure. They are out. You go to schools, you run a school. Go to schools and see when it is Parents' Day.
Yes. Mostly the moms.
It's mostly the moms. The dads have no idea what is happening in the lives of children. They expect children to be great. But they are not in the lives of their children. They are not there. Those parents' meetings are dominated by women, moms, who are there, who are checking, and someone is seated. They are comfortable because, remember, it is about, I told you, it's mindset, and we call it mental green light. They have that social green light of, if this child doesn't turn out, it's the mother because it is the mom's role. And then we also have scripture that says a child that doesn't behave well is a disgrace to the mom. Some of them even use that to say, don't you see? But we need to know that some of these things we have called gender roles, they are actually basic skills, and both men and women need to step up, get as involved. Men, please help out. You know, when you wash your things, the hand is not going to fall off.
No, it won't.
It won't.
You will not be less of a man.
So
less of a
yes, you see what they tell you, have you been bewitched? It is a mindset.
It is a mindset.
It is a mindset, and this is causing so much stress, so much pressure, so much exhaustion at family level, and it's not helping things.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think that even as we talk about gender roles, the other narrative that has been perpetuated by culture is around the issue of accountability and faithfulness in marriage. You've had it being said, or some public platforms, people actually now, we're talking with Dr. Everson saying, sex outside of marriage. So if a husband is having sex outside of marriage, it has become normalized. It's become celebrated, in fact,
glamorized,
and under the narrative that a man can do this.
Surely, that's
Surely,
you can't have only one. Exactly. In fact, I'm writing a paper on polygamy. I went to Parliament on the marriage bill. What shocked me is trying to convert, and call it conversion, a pure monogamous relationship into polygamy. And many people are buying into this, including some pastors whose mind on theology is totally demented. And they presented to Parliament that for us, polygamy is okay. Of course, I will share my paper with this platform. But what does it show? She mentioned the mindset. You mentioned this issue. So I asked Parliament, because there are reasons of polygamy, including that there are more women than men. So I say,
that's not true.
If one time, statistically that's not true, but I say, if one time there are more men than women, then will polyandry be acceptable.
That's the thing.
So that this woman also
can
import more than one man, and they say, no, culturally speaking. Now,
oh dear Lord.
you are imputing culture in terms of what favors you. Now, she mentioned it a bit. Mental green light.
selfishness.
Yeah, mental
That you
green
see,
light. Yeah.
as long as it favors me, it is okay.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then it is okay. It is not okay. And it is for both sides.
That's true.
Now, for ladies, especially those who are earning, as long as he's bringing
bringing
the food
you
on
the
the
food on the
table, he's
table.
leaving Kameza money, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I will keep mine. Even when you come for pencil, you pencil in. Ladies, you have changed many things.
We have changed. We don't do pencil
Yes,
anymore.
So even when you come for pencil, it is the money to
It's
give.
the man to give.
You get it? Why? Because the mental green light she talked about,
As long as it
used
favors
that,
you.
it
Yes.
favors you. Forgetting that actually you need one basket. So, we are not only dealing with the mental, but also practice. And the practice is, again, what favors me. That if he did it, there is a man, he came to my wedding 4 years ago, and he came with me and the wife. We had found out that he was committing adultery. And I called him to office. So the first thing he wanted to talk about is that I'm committing adultery. But
Oh,
I
there's a
shut
reason.
him down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there a but on committing adultery? And sometimes I ask those young people, if your wife committed adultery, is that
be
also
okay
an
for you?
Is it
exception?
acceptable?
If
Can
it
she
is
have a
really-
bat?
Oh, no, women. Now, we call that stereotyping.
Yeah.
That women are. You put very many things.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, whether it is cooking traditionally we think they are women. But when you go to the Bible, Jacob was a good cook.
He was.
A very good cook. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why the mother liked him, I think. And all servants of kings who were cooks were men.
Were men, yeah.
So traditional roles may not actually be what we are
We
practicing
think they
today.
are, yes.
But things with the cooking, washing again clothes, I normally ask again young men, what were you doing before you married her?
That's the thing.
Please continue doing it. That's what even the Bible says. Continue doing what you were doing. Others, even bathing is a problem. I mean, bathing, getting soap.
Reverend, are you serious? They want us to bathe
There are
them.
so many marriages breaking because mainly men can't bathe. At least I have seen 2 cases where women are not continuously bathing now. That's beyond a disaster and shouldn't even appear
In any
in
home.
any of the
Those
home.
of you
But
that
we
are
are dealing
watching.
with the bathing. So even they go to the number of times. That since I bathed in the morning, so surely I can't bathe in the evening. Now,
Wow.
infection is what? Because traditionally, bathing was not a serious matter. You get it? You come from,
Lord.
I mean, traditionally, we used to bathe like once a week. We went to a school. Now, I want to mention the school. But, especially it was all boys. Surely, bathing once a week was okay. One boy left Kampala and came to the school we were in. And when he found boys not bathing, he finished the term without bathing. So he came
A
home
whole term.
to report happily that, mommy, daddy, can you believe I have spent a term without bathing? They had to scrub him, scrubbing.
Oh my goodness.
And throw everything outside. Now, if that one becomes your husband,
Oh Lord.
and he bathes once a day, he's really
He has
tried
tried.
beyond reasonable doubt. So, in other words, in terms of culture, anything can be a crash factor. Because if there is no bathing, ladies will get infections, even miscarriages. I hope you understand that.
Yeah.
Out of simply bathing. And so, in a nutshell, it is not only mental, but even what we practice.
Sure.
So there is what they call the golden rule. And it is in Luke chapter 6, verse 31. Do unto others what you want
them to do
unto you.
Yeah.
So, if I have a cultural shock or disagreement with my wife, I put myself
in her shoes.
If it is okay, And I feel, because I normally ask people, if you were you, would you marry you? If I was my wife, would I marry this man? If I know what this money is. So if you now pass that, you now have passed the cultural test, the practical test, plus also other tests, because you'll be checking yourself more than you are checking the others. So all issues, leadership, she mentioned, partnerships, others are getting money, but money for who? If you died now, who would benefit from your estate? Now, if it is not your wife or child, if you are a man, you are a fool. F-double-O-L, not F-double-L. Because a fool, the total one. Why? Because NSSF won't call, the banks won't call that this money has remained in that. So if you are now such a type, it means that your labor is not what? Is in vain. The one who wrote that if a child, does something bad, you be shame the woman. He had 1,000 women. So, I mean, Solomon, yes. King Solomon had no capacity to look after his children. Even the father, David, they would even kill one another. And just to warn, it was problematic. Why? Because, again, polygamous culture takes away responsibility from the man and places
on the woman.
Because and that's the tough thing, because she's there.
She's around.
She's available. And our cultures therefore promote practices that are patriarchal. Cheating outside, even getting money and quietly giving it to your relatives and friends, even stealing from your wife. I'm dealing with a man who stole from the wife.
There are many.
There are many.
There are many.
Many, God forgive you. But you imagine stealing from your wife. But I also dealt with the wife who stole from the husband. So the husband came with a lot of money and he never mentioned whose it was, where it was going. The issue of accountability, she mentioned it. So when she found the money, she got it and hid it. So the husband got worried in the morning, looked everywhere. Thank God he found it, but never said he found it. Went, did what he was to do, came back home crying, my money, my money. Now the wife went to check where she had hid it, the money wasn't there.
Oh Lord.
And by the time she confessed, she was saying, my husband, I'm the one who had taken it somewhere there, but
it got stolen.
It is now gone, maybe children, what and what. And then the husband told her one lesson, that in the future when you are stealing from me, tell me, so that I also don't steal from you.
Oh Lord.
They are still together. But you see, again, those are what they call practices that do not promote even good culture.
Absolutely.
Yes, and normally it is a crash.
That's right. Yeah, Rachel, just to add to what Reverend is saying, I like that you mentioned that culture, most of the time we go to cultural practices that reinforce our selfishness.
Yes.
And I really want to give this as a check, as a checklist, maybe one element to check ourselves. Check. This thing that you're getting from culture, is it to build the family, or it is to benefit you, to service your selfishness? Because that's what happens. So, for instance, what you asked about infidelity, this has become an epidemic. It is a terrible epidemic here. We just ran a session last week, and I just mentioned something about someone, especially my brothers, men, going back home at 4. At some, I've just seen that some they go out of their homes for a week without saying where they are. Someone said a month, mine is a month. This particular reel attracted close to, I checked this morning, close to 400 comments. And out of the 400, only one man commented.
very
And when he
genuine.
commented, he was being defensive.
Of course you are.
Now, we need to be very careful. Let me remind people about the beauty of marriage. You see, when you run your marriage down, you're actually losing your health. You're affecting your children. You're impairing your children's lives and success. We are dealing with impaired children.
Yes.
Very angry children, and disoriented because of their parents' relationships. I've done parenting sessions here, Rachel, and I have mentioned that children learn by seeing. What they are seeing their parents do. A dad who goes home, rather who goes out of home, doesn't show up, or always comes at 6. I was asking myself, 6 o'clock, like 6 a.m. in the morning. So you're coming to do what? To change clothes, go back. But you see, this culture of no accountability, and again, the mental green light, that, you know me, I can be in marriage, do anything that I want, and still have a good family. You see, that's what it comes to.
Yeah.
Someone is living in deception that you can have a marriage, do anything you want,
And then get
get away with it. You can actually run your marriage down, but still expect to have a family. Now, my brothers, and I really want to say this to you, this doesn't look good on you at all. Because you see, in my work line, I've seen old men who are living a life of regret in their later years. They have done what they are doing. They have slept out, they don't show up. When a woman talks, they ask, and culture also encourages that a woman doesn't ask where the man is.
That
You see,
accountability.
I read through all the comments. I got sad. Actually, when I read through the comments, one woman just wrote a comment and said, for me, I've gotten used to this because my husband sleeps out, doesn't communicate. I started off by asking. He told me I'm not supposed to ask culture, and now I gave myself peace. Now, from that one comment, we have about 187 comments.
On that very comment.
On that comment, 187 other women saying, this is exactly what I'm going
dealing
through.
with. Yeah.
And of course, they are saying, hey, yours comes at 3 a.m. Mine is 6. Mine 2 weeks. Mine a month. Mine. And I thought, what is this?
Yeah.
Do we have marriages? Now as a researcher and as a statistician, Reverend, I went back to then the statistics I shared earlier, the research that was done in this country, showing that our divorce rate, of course, is going through the roof now, but also the most worrying thing is that we have very ugly, painful marriages.
Yeah.
Now, in such a marriage where someone doesn't communicate, doesn't come home, you're not supposed to ask. And actually, even when you go to the support system, your parents say, a man, you don't ask them where they are.
You don't go for a counselor.
Don't stress him. But the culture doesn't tell the man, when you're not home, you're supposed to communicate.
No.
Interestingly, sorry, Reverend, even in church, I attended a ceremony, a giveaway ceremony, and I will tell you that not just this, but even church has become an extension, not all of it, but some of the church members, authorities, they've become an extension of these archaic cultural practices. And I was so sad. On this ceremony, it was a very senior church leader who was preaching. And when you listen, all the responsibility is being heaped on the little girl.
Yeah.
This little girl who is marrying, because when we marry, most of the time, girls are younger than men.
Yeah.
But no message to this man. So this reverend, higher in rank, at a level of an archdeacon, he is giving advice, and he's glad to share from his life. He says, you girl, won't mention the name, when your husband doesn't come home early, please don't call him.
Wow.
Right? Don't call him, because men hate it when they are called. Okay? But listen, he goes on to say, when he comes home at 4, just encourage him. Give him warm food and warm water. Now, of course, we have water heaters. I just thought, what are you saying? Anyhow, he goes on to say, give him hot food. And in my head, I'm wondering, at 4 a.m., what meal is he eating?
Is that breakfast?
Is that breakfast for
dinner
tomorrow or dinner for I don't know what? But listen, he goes on to say, give him food, encourage him, and let him sleep in peace, and give him sex. Now, I was so sad. I was extremely sad, very saddened. And I thought, what are you saying? And he goes on to say, you know me, I used to come at 4, and then my wife would do that, and then Reverend, and he said, even when I was already saved, I did that, and my wife, up to now, when I come at 4, she says, he gives me that, and then he says, oh, you've come early, and then listen, and then he says, now I started coming at 2. Then she would encourage me. I come at midnight, and now at least I go home by 10. And I thought, what a wrong preacher. But do you see the message that is being sent out? Now, instead of saying, man, now that you have gotten married, you have a family, now it's no longer you're going to adjust, because you see every level requires a different you. Now you have responsibility. You're in charge of family. And now you're going to raise generations, because this message is never there. And so men have gotten this message that they actually, after the wedding, or even before, they can start from where they stopped. And they don't have to change. They run they don't have out. To they go to bars, and they can go to another woman, and this person is not supposed to ask. Does this surprise you, therefore, that we have so horrible mental health issues in marriages? Just imagine someone is waiting for you, the person waiting, and they've told them, don't ask. And so she has to wait. Of course, brothers, I know that there are women also who have now taken to this. In fact, when I read through the messages, I felt so sad, because I saw that how marriages are breaking. The advice some fellow women are giving to each other is, also get a Panadol. Also start, you know, when you get another guy, just don't even ask, because you see, you've suffocated the opportunity for these people to work out a relationship. And so it's go do your own things. Go to the bar, go to other women, because at 6, really, are you sleeping? Are you standing? Are you like, where are you?
What is this?
And so these cultures that haven't promoted a sense of accountability and growth in life, because you see, this is another level. If you have been playing, going to bars and dancing, China Wolf, which I hear have a bar next to our place, and so this is a dad in the bar, Monday through Sunday, dancing China Wolf. Where are the children? Where is the family? You see, now these cultures that have promoted a sense of go dance, go do anything you want, go and then come, because you see your home is going to be there. That's a lie. Men have been scammed. And my brothers, I want to tell you, it's a scam. You cannot run your marriage that way. You can't run your family that way. You cannot I wish that life was there, that you can do anything and get away with it.
And still have a happy marriage.
Do you see? And it confuses me because you see, men, especially men, my brothers, especially, and I have nothing against you. You see, you can't do this in the workplace. You'll be fired.
They never do.
You'll be fired.
Yeah.
You see, you can't do that mischief. You can't do anything you want in the workplace. You're going to be fired. You're going to lose a job. So why do you think you can do all the mischief
in your home
and still have a home? Because these the so-called cultural things, they haven't told my brothers that you're going to have a miserable family. Actually, you're likely to lose it. And that's why men are surprised that women are walking away from such relationships because they are miserable, they are sad. We have depression, high levels of depression in marriage. Just imagine that particular one where you have to wait for someone and then they tell you, serve them, see how they are eating, give them water, even when you have a water heater, then go have sex and be happy.
Be happy.
Where does that have a place in life now?
I don't think, because you see again, the church has moved away. Actually, let me call faith and religion.
Faith and religion,
have totally interpreted what we call kingdom culture.
Yes.
Because kingdom culture does not abuse. It promotes kingdom
unity.
principles.
Absolutely.
Love, joy, peace, long suffering. So in terms of such a reverend, what you needed to hear is what the woman talks about. I mean, she's married to misery. And so because you have settled in misery thinks
that everyone should be miserable.
Everybody should be miserable and settle in misery.
And misery
I read
company.
I read a book by Dr. Bob and Audrey. They are from South Africa on forgiveness. This lady for 17 years, the husband knew they have a perfect marriage. They are elders in church work. But it makes the boy who flirts with her, says, you look nice. And what she says is that I was, pushed up to have a relationship with this man because he touched where my husband for 17 years had never touched. So we have now miserable women. They are just in marriage because culture also expects them
to keep quiet.
In marriage, keep quiet. There is a lady who called me that the husband had cheated and what. And she was, of course, distressed. So for me to make her laugh, I told her, and I was serious, get a kashoteso. A kashoteso is a road. I'm coming home, we just beat the hell out of this man. Of course, she laughed. And I illustrated as follows, that never settle for a relationship that has infidelity. Okay, many women have settled. Of course, I will come to what they call push factors, why that man also moves out. But many have settled that all men are like this.
All men cheat.
No,
that's
we
not
are
true.
not all
like
men.
that,
We call that stereotyping. So a woman comes to me, you see my husband is cheating. All men are like that, Reverend. I say, but I'm a man. So are you coming to cheat with me? So reality is I'm not foolish like your husband. Full stop. Because if you cheat, you are a fool. That's in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 31 and 32.
Not your words.
Whoever cheats is a fool. And the one who wrote it
had 1,000
women.
In other words, and he says vanity is vanity. So in other words, I'm not going to be reduced to that workshop of men who have caused the miserable situation in their lives. And they now preach about pastors preaching. One of them said, and I quote, and I was on TV watching, that imagine my wife cheating with a chapati man. For him, cheating was not a problem.
It was with
cheating with
a
chapati man. And you're a pastor, you are talking. You are a fool.
Have a platform.
But then the challenge is that we have promoted foolishness.
And
now who attend that foolishness, you'll find many women are in that church clapping.
Oh,
That's
yes.
right.
You get it?
Because in their
And
heads,
therefore,
you know,
even, you know, those who are miserable are actually promoting misery for their folk.
Yes.
And they judge her.
Yes.
They put her that as a woman you should have. You get it? And why? Because it is a culture that, you know, if a man cheats, you forgive.
Yeah.
If a woman cheats,
You will throw her out.
You throw her out and even stone her. They bring a woman who had been caught in adultery, John chapter 9, to Jesus. I normally ask, where was the man? Okay, can you commit adultery by remote? Okay,
You cannot.
Remote, yes. But they bring
the woman.
The woman. Culture, please condemn
her.
If you are not going to condemn her, then you are not a rabbi.
Yes.
And Jesus challenges them. Please, the one who
has
hasn't
never sinned,
let them pick the first
stone.
stone. And he used the word sinning, not adultery.
No.
You know, he was actually challenging that if you are bringing only one person, surely your culture is demented. Yeah. So, again, if you are ready and you are listening to us, please also avoid what they call push factors. Push factors, this man comes at 10. I'm not saying you get cold water and power him on him. I'm only encouraging you. Those are what they call red flags. Begin discussions.
Yeah.
And put what they call a bottom line.
Yeah.
You bypass this, I am out. My wife knows my bottom line. I like marriage. I mean, pure marriages. But she knows that there's something you will do, and I cannot bear it.
Yes.
I can't take it. And because I can't take it, I can't do it. Okay, let me repeat. Because I can't, for example, take adultery,
I will not do it.
Jasper to Muhimbi said, we will never commit adultery until death.
Yeah.
In fact, I told God on my marriage day, if I commit adultery, kill me. Now there are these dreams which come and you are about. I get out because I don't want to die. But anyway, the first thing, if you see red flags, please
address them.
Address it.
Yeah.
Go to counselors, go somewhere, go to a church which won't encourage you now, boil water, no. So then secondly, if that doesn't happen, if you address together, it doesn't happen, then escalate it.
Yeah.
They are your parents, they are your matron and the best man. That's why when you are choosing a matron and the best man, please choose wisely.
Yeah.
Because some of us choose because of our cultures, others because they have money. Then escalate it to a certain level where somebody will come and address that. When you continue this way, it is a point of no return. Why? Because our cultures again have promoted people remaining in marriage, and that's not me, even when things are tough. So adultery, when somebody strikes you or attempts to, for me,
that's unacceptable.
it is a cause for what they call premarital separation.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about divorce. It is premarital separation, you sort it out. Otherwise, heart attack, diabetes, people will die. Why? Because those shocks will continue. I have a couple, I wedded them. No, I was the go-between, and the lady got a picture from WhatsApp that this, your husband produced a child. Now I'm also talking to two ladies.
This is before the wedding?
No, after the wedding. They have children, 13 years plus. So they said to the woman that this is your husband's child. And she believed it. Because surely, I read it today in a paper where they buried the wrong person. Why? Because she looked like the other dead one. So she's called Susan Naporot. I read it in the Monitor today. They buried her, and then when they were burying, she was dancing in Kampala. So the one who saw her dancing, he told her they are burying you. And so they had to transport her home to show people that she's still alive.
She's alive.
But, so they sent to this lady that this is your husband's child. And surely when you looked,
They looked
there was
alike.
some resemblance. So stress, they begin fights which are quiet. The husband now begins going out, coming at 4, just to change dresses. But to cut a long story short, one time he was dropping her to the office. Because they don't communicate by, she moved out a bit when the door was open, and she was checking her, you know what you ladies do. Her hair before she leaves, the husband reversed. The door is open, and then hits her. Reverend, now he wants to kill me on top of committing adultery. Now that was during COVID, so I called them home. And the lady explains, other than this, he wants to kill me. So I took the husband to my bedroom. I asked permission from my wife to go and ask, is this your child? Now, the husband tells me one thing, that Reverend, my father died of HIV, and we suffered. Even if I committed adultery, I can't produce outside. Meaning, surely, even if I was drunk, this child can't be mine. I don't know this time she was a girl. I even don't know the mother, but they had named the mother. So I go back to the girl and I ask her, can we find this girl? She said, yes. Can we do DNA? Yeah, let him pay for DNA. And those days, DNA
was very expensive.
Right, expensive. Then the man said, me, I'm not going to pay for. So then I said, by the way, can I pay for DNA?
Let's resolve this issue.
Reverend, you have no money. I said, no. On this case, let me pay for DNA. And where is the baby? We couldn't get the baby up to today. Why the baby was internet.
Oh my goodness.
And the one who had done it, because I now told this lady, you need to find out the one who sent
you this photo.
She goes and finds out it is a relative of that man. The man had refused to give her some money. And all she wanted is their marriage to do what? To collapse. So ladies, I'm also telling you, not to go to M10 printouts and what and check what, because you'll find somebody who said, dear,
and
dear
then you will collapse.
And you don't call him dear, so you collapse because of a dear. There was a small article I read where a man wrote that to another man that I used your wife, and it was nice. It was Wi-Fi, but this phone is which write proper English. Instead of Wi-Fi, it was wife. And it was nice. The man said, okay, even if you sleep with my wife, surely you don't add that it was nice.
Oh my gosh.
Now, by the time you find out the truth, possibly in your mind you have murdered, you have done many things. So what I'm saying also, ladies, before you do very many things, read those red flags, get counseling, also try to save your marriage. Because also many girls, especially nowadays, are stress factors.
That's true.
And I'm saying it as a pastor.
Yes. You understand.
Yeah, I saw actually, no, Reverend, well, thank you. On matters of infidelity and coming home, I think, and of course having children out of wedlock, this has also, again, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, and so some of those things, and of course anxiety erodes wisdom. So I like that you give advice to all of us to be stable, there's lots of suspicion, conversation for another time, but yes, but I think key thing is that there are certain things that have been sold to men as something that can really transcend times, and they still can do certain things and get away with it, because like having children out of wedlock, this is like a badge of honor in some cultures, and some men have really jumped on this. They don't see anything wrong with it, and they don't know that culture can sell something to you, but it's not going to help you manage it. Most men are stressed The issue of polygamy, because you see, as a psychologist, the moment you give your brain a message that this is acceptable, it's going to give you, it's going to reduce your guilt, your shame, that, you know, the kind of things that restrain us. And so, for instance, if you say, oh, men can have so many wives. What's wrong with it? And so someone who doesn't have a strong moral stature, they're just going to jump on this. But you see, one of the things I ask my brothers especially, please challenge this. Because you see, if you don't challenge, you have to run it by you and check, how is it going to look like? Someone who is instigating you to have another wife and another girlfriend, who doesn't? Now, some men, you hear them tell their wives, am I the first one? Who doesn't? And then that's why some women also believe there's no man who doesn't cheat. And that's not true. There's some men responsible, committed to their families, love their children, and they are there. But you see, that what they don't tell them is that go polygamy, and you're going to have only another extra. Oh, it feels good, you know. When this one disturbs you, you go to another one. You see how it is self-centered? But they don't tell you the dangers you're going to experience. They don't tell you the chaos that is going to ravage your home. They don't tell you the depressed children you're going to have. They don't tell you that you yourself, managing that female hormone, you know, managing all those dynamics, it's going to be hard for you, not culture. It's not going to help you. Coming home late, one of the things I tell men, please be careful. You see, you can come home, dance in the bars, but you see, culture is not telling you that you're going to lose your children. You're going to be an absentee dad. You're going to struggle later on when your children have lost you. And this is going to be dangerous. So the danger with culture is that some of these culture things we pull and use them to advantage. We do not challenge them. We don't look at the bigger picture, you see? And then also, Reverend, the challenge of men is the head, man is the head. Headship has been confused for boss, being the boss. You see, you're the boss. Because you're the boss, you can do anything. Now, one of the things I always ask men are great leaders in the workplace. But you see, some of them don't take those leadership skills home. And yet home is the first place to train us in leadership, practice leadership. And so the things you do in the workplace, you don't go to the teams you lead and say, don't you know I'm the boss? No. You don't do this. How come you do it at home? You see, you come home and you just want to be the boss. Because you see, I've studied leadership. A leader and a boss are totally different things. Headship is divine. And I've said to ladies, if you're married to a man, the man is the head in that family structure. And this is not up for debate. He's the head. But how he uses this headship, that's another question. You see, does he just want to sit and be served? I've seen in some cases where a man, young couples now, who are saying, you have to give me your salary. There's no conversation, there's no nothing, and I use it without accountability. That's the boss element, which is so sad, very absurd. So we need, and by the way, I've realized that this culture of, yes, you are the head, which is okay, non-negotiable, but you see, you have to train people to lead. You see, so men need to be helped to lead. You see, to lead in their families and be great leaders, and be great leaders to their wives, great leaders to their children, great leaders in this very important basic institution. You see? So and so when we do that, then we need to help them know that then you can't have it two ways. You can't have your cake and eat it.
That's true.
You cannot get in a marriage and run it down but still have a great family. You have to consider the costs of the behavior that you're putting out. And so you don't just take culture to serve you, but without considering the challenges you're going to have.
Let me say something.
As we close.
In fact, you should form culture.
In your home.
Yes, because a culture evolves, but form a culture. because you mentioned something to do with the head, so I have written in what they call nuggets.
Yeah.
To say that a head without a brain and a brain without a head
Yes.
happen in some marriages. You have a head, but there is no brain.
No brain.
But then you have a brain of a wife,
Yeah.
and there is no head.
Yeah.
And that's a disaster. But I also wrote that I rather have a chicken without a head than the head of a chicken. Because those two have different functions.
Yes.
If I'm going to eat it.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So that's why now the issue of headship, leadership should be put in a context. What are you heading?
Yeah.
You have shoulders,
Yeah.
you have the whole thorax, and then you have the legs. So as a brain, you can't function alone. And I pray for many now to know that, yes, you need that whole body for you to function as the what?
That's true.
As the head.
I agree.
And that body also has a brain.
Yeah.
That's in form of a wife.
Yeah.
She has also hands for economic activity. And
Yeah.
the biblical version is should be, we can work together to build a new culture.
Yes.
A Jasper peace culture.
Yeah.
So that our children will now follow it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
I feel like you've touched on many of the cultural narratives that are destroying families or that have been abused. Started off maybe well, but are being abused. But I think one of the things that I have picked out from what you have both shared, and I would like for you to conclude by giving your parting shots, is that culture evolves, so do we as human beings. And while there, with the advent of Christianity and, the globe becoming smaller because people go out to study, they come back to Uganda, and there's an enlightenment about the way we are living our lives. There's a need for us to balance and to sieve, to pick out the good aspects of culture, practice them in our homes, those that are not serving us, to throw them away, And so I want you, as you give your parting shots, what practical thing can those who are watching walk away with when it comes to this culture conversation? And it's a mindset change. This episode is not going to change your mind, just by watching it. There's a lot of conversations that we need to begin having at church level, in our homes. You just talked about form culture as a family. What do you guys believe in? What's your culture? What are the values that you are promoting, not just for yourself, but also for your children? So talk in closing about something practical that they can walk away with. What can I do to begin to change my mindset and start promoting healthy culture? Yeah.
Two things. One is, if you're a father, are you proud of the culture of your father? And if you have a son or daughter, 20 years later, can they say, I had a wonderful father? Therefore, that's the culture. If you're a girl, well, when you are listening to me, are you proud of your mother's culture? And what aspects are you proud of, and what can you now add so that now your daughter or your husband or even your son can say, I had a mother. Now, if you don't look at the end from the beginning, it means you won't form a culture. So my appeal is, let's begin forming cultures.
Yes.
Where people will say, 100 years later, that I had a grandfather called Jasper. And he lived for 1, 2, 3. Not education, not property, but culture will actually outlive all those.
Yeah. Good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rachel. I guess my parting shots are that culture is good, but only if we use it to the advantage of the family, not individuals.
Yes.
And so we need to look at the aspects that are really good for us, like how we started, helping people, because it's values. Culture has values. And so we need to see those values that really promote cohesion, promote growth, promote peace. You see, culture should promote peace.
Yes.
So if the cultural elements you're hanging on to are taking away peace, they are affecting the future generations. They are affecting your health. They are affecting your health. I'm asking people to be more health conscious in as far as relationships are concerned, because that's where our health, the big chunk of our health comes from. Then it is not good for you. So don't just let culture rule you. You have to rule culture. You see? You have to rule culture. You don't have to let culture determine your life. You have to challenge it and see whether it works to promote you. But most importantly, to promote future generations. Because if you focus on your personal pleasure against the wellness of the entire generation, then you're not wise.
You're not. You really aren't. Thank you both. Thank you, Reverend. I think for representing this conversation very well. You came in with the church aspect, but also from your personal experiences and the experiences you've interacted with. We appreciate your insights. So please come again when we invite you. And thank you, Dr. Evers, for always lending us wisdom to these very sensitive conversations. We hope this has been helpful. If you have a comment, of course, please leave it down below for us and give us your thoughts on what we have discussed. What are some of those aspects that maybe we missed out on that need to be highlighted? Problematic cultural practices, and maybe cultural practices that are positive and should be reinforced in our homes as we raise children, but also as we build our marriages. Thank you for watching. Stay well, stay healthy. Until next week, we'll be back again with another conversation right here on Reality Check.